Yeah, there we go. Welcome, everybody. I am Denny Cool, and you are watching Late Night with Denny Cool Talk Podcast. So we got a few in here, Dennis and Wanda. Welcome, both of you. Yeah, Den, you are an early bird. That's what he said. He goes, I am an early bird for this one. Den loves this stuff. He likes the weird things and everything. And guess what? I did. I put a fireplace behind me. Yeah. And this is my podcast, my talk podcast sweater. It's comfy. It's cozy. Kind of looks like I'm sitting like almost in the fire. But I'm really not. The only thing, though, about backdrops sometimes is that they, yeah, it's a big fireplace. You can really burn yourself under. But I wanted it because I obviously wanted the effects of it, you know what I mean? And I figured, well, I'll do it and see what happens. The problem is, though, sometimes the lighting is off, right? And then you can see little glitches in it. See, like that right there. I'm not really a fan of that. But who cares? Let me see if I can adjust that, Wanda. You see, I am very critical about this stuff. It really aggravates me. But that's what happens when you do live, you know. It is what it is, and you got to deal with it. It is, but it's warm on my back. Hey, you can warm your hands up. Look at that. Nice and toasty. Have a little sip of whiskey. See how it disappears right into the fire? Figured you like that. It's a big fireplace, Wanda. Listen, if you're going to do it, do it right. Go for the Augusto. Go for everything, right? Don't mess around. Don't have a little rinky-dink fireplace. I do things big. You guys should know that. You know? There's actually a crackling noise to it, but I removed it because I like my ambient music in the background much, much better. So I wanted to have that instead. And I don't know. I don't know what I did with it, but I had my garlic clove around here somewhere. Now I lost it, I think. Not my pockets, Wanda. I lost it somewhere. Oh, I could eat marshmallows, chocolate. Hi, Jennifer. I could eat. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Listen, tonight, really cool, right? So unlike the calm, cool, you know, relaxing. I mean, I'm still relaxing, but unlike the calm, cool, soft monologue type of thing, right, that I have. This, and of course, I accept all criticism, remarks, comments, and so I try to take everything in and apply certain things during each show. I do that even on the regular live shows too, right? And so someone gave, you know, suggestions on this, that. I said, okay, I'm going to try it. What can it hurt, right? I mean, it's live. Something goes wrong. It is what it is. But they said, you know, you got to do something exciting. Like, we love listening to you talk, but can you do something exciting and have people call in? I said, yeah, I can do that. But I didn't think by the third episode people were ready for that. I kind of wanted to slow my way into things. But I'm thinking, what the hell? I'm going to do it. So tonight, right, and it's not too far off the rails here, but it's enough that... You remember that song, Things That Make You Go, hmm? Well, this is stuff that makes you go, hmm. With a double hmm. So I found some really cool things that I hope you guys will like. And then what I did is inlaid the video of me within the actual video so I can kind of explain. And then I put some videos that I found that may explain some of the things you're hearing and watching. So it's really cool. Well, I'm glad I can make you smile. Jennifer, I know. How is Ronnie, Jennifer? I haven't seen him. You know what? I seen him years ago, actually. I loved Ronnie. I'll tell you what. Ronnie, for those that don't know, hooked up with Ronnie years ago. Him and I used to be DJs. He took me, under his wing. Taught me a lot. He's a great, great guy. Him and I did a lot of shows together. He used to run my sound, and we'd do all of his shows and stuff, and then he'd open up. He'd do his country stuff and everything else. He was just a great guy. He really was. But, yeah, Ron Salter. That was years ago. We used to play a lot at the barn. Remember the barn? The barn was cool. That's where I first met Ronnie. Truth be told, I met him at the barn up in Amesbury, Jennifer. That was, years ago. Oh, they divorced. Oh, that's horrible. That's too bad. Well, I hope he's doing all right. I hope you're doing okay, your mom and your sister and everybody else. I hope everybody's doing good. Unfortunately, things happen, but Ronnie was a good guy, though. He really was. He was an awesome guy. He never did wrong by me. Always had my back. We had a lot of fun. And again, I learned a lot from Ronnie. Ronnie taught me a lot about the DJing business and everything else, music business, all that fun stuff. So I always give credit where credit is due. You back, Den? All right, well, we missed you. Den, you're going to like tonight's show. And like I said, I sent out the email for the members. All right, so I will announce the call-ins. But I want to play some content. I want to get to some content. This stuff, you guys may have heard of it or seen it. I don't know. But again, I didn't want to go too far off the rails, but I just wanted to go deep enough so you kind of you scratch your head, right? And then what I try to do, I try to figure out on my own what it is that I'm hearing or seeing. And I think I do pretty well with it. I'm not a geologist, I'm not a scientist and nothing like that, but I think I do pretty good. And a lot of the stuff, okay, so let me just debunk one thing that people completely take out of term. When people say the word paranormal, they think it automatically relates to ghost or spirit. It doesn't. Paranormal is what can't be explained. It's the unexplained, right? That's what paranormal is, right? It's not normal, hence para. So it's not normal. So when you see something that says paranormal, it's not referring to ghost, of that nature. It's something that just can't be explained, right? Yeah, on Stumble In we did then. Yeah, we had a really good debate. Yeah, I think I won that debate then. No, it wasn't that type of debate, but it was fun. That was Stumble In. That's a while back I tried. It was similar to this. And my original podcast was called Stumble In, but it just, you know what it was? Timing, everything else, it just didn't jive. It didn't work the way I wanted it to. And so I kind of left that, but it was good. It happened for a reason because I needed to also focus on our live shows on Fridays, which I'm glad I did, right? Because that worked out better. But, okay, so let's get on with this. I'm just going to kind of do this. I'm going to mute. See, because I can hear it louder in my ear. So let me just mute that for a second, guys, just so I can hear myself. If I was doing normal thinking then and talking, okay, great. But it kind of subdues me. Subdues? Is that even a word? Subdues? Subdues. No, there's no doobs at it. It's subdue. Yeah, subdue, not subdubes. What an idiot. Referring to myself, of course. Yeah, you remember that, right? When Den has it. Yeah, yeah. Then we'll get to that after. I want to talk about that after too. That was kind of weird, man. I, I don't know. I still think Den implanted it himself. He did. He stuck. He jabbed it in his own back. Okay, I categorize these now. Has anybody have? All right. First, let me ask this question. Show of hands. Have you guys ever? We're not going to go with sight. We're going to go with sound. Okay, so we're going to go with sound. Have you ever heard something? And I'm not talking like something in your house or in your backyard, but epic. Something, okay, like say you're in a field, even if you are in your yard, but you hear it, but it's coming from the sky and it's all around you. And the sound is so prominent. I mean, it's everywhere, right? It's not one particular place. It's just in the air, but it's the sky, right? So it's taking up your atmosphere for miles and miles and miles and miles. And you're not the only one. Say you're in a tight neighborhood or something. Others are hearing it too. But so it's surrounding everything, right? But it's just taking up all the sound. Did you guys ever hear something so abnormal like that, like epic? Again, not centrally located, but something so broad. Has anybody ever heard that? Wonder, you raised your hand. I think that's your hand. It's a little, what is that little thing? It's something. Only from online videos. Okay. All right. Yeah, no, then I'm the same way. I will confess, only from online videos. I've heard, right? Well, actually, correction. Nothing to the extent of what I'm going to play. But I heard this a while ago. I heard like a boom, not an explosion, but just like a thud. And it was quite loud and it carried for quite a while. But let me see. Wanda, you said whistling noise type thing, but it was only yourself late one night while outside. Well, even if there weren't others there, I'm asking because what I'm going to play on top of other things that I have, is this kind of ties right into it. Right? Well, you said you were outside walking and you heard the whistling sound, Wanda, and it was around 2 a.m., right? But here's what's weird about what I'm going to play. Now, what I did was, again, I took several videos from all over the world, okay, and I'm going to play each of them. And then I took another video, and then it's kind of like, it's from, I think, Inside Edition, whatever it is. And then I play that, and that, I think, summarizes, or to the best explanation, whoever they have, or whatever it is. When you watch it, you may agree, or you may disagree with that could be where the sound is coming from. But I'm going to play this first one, and I'll let you guys decide, but I may pause. Oh, first let me show you this weird one. It's a quick one, all right? But this is, do you guys ever lay down, say you're on the beach, maybe in your yard or whatever, and you're looking up in the sky, and it's just, like, it's fun to stare at clouds, right? They call it matrixing, I guess. When you think, like, your mind sees things, but it's not really there. It's kind of making an image. And so your brain computes of what it wants to see, but it's really not what you're seeing. Messed up kind of thing, right? And we take a look at this. I found this video. Now, I tried to find older videos simply because of all the AI crap. And again, I love AI, but you know, you can tell a fake. But this one here, take a look. Again, it's a very quick video. I'm going to pause it, though, so you guys can take a look at it. All right. This is the face in the cloud. Here we go. All right. That was some dude explaining something. But let me scroll it back here. Okay. You're a little pushy-wushy. Okay. Now, what they're explaining, and of course, all of the comments and stuff that are there, people, they're saying, oh, it's Jesus. Listen, your mind sees what it wants to see. And clearly, you can see, or what you think is the form of a nose, a mouth, a chin. You can't see my mouse, but you guys can see that, right? It would scare the heck out of you, yeah. All right, but here's the thing: is I've seen similar cloud formations like this. Some of them look like dogs, or they had like, I don't know, horns on them, just weird stuff. But what happens is, as it dissipates, as the cloud mass pushes away and the wind separates, right, it clearly and distinctively goes to show you that it's not solid. And some people will argue and say, well, it's this and that forming as a cloud to make itself known. I mean, look, if you want to believe that, who am I to begrudge you from believing that? I, however, think that there is a rational explanation for that. I don't know. I guess if I seen that myself up front, maybe I would say, okay, that's bizarro, but it is cool. I'm not going to deny that. That definitely is cool for sure. Now, what would I do if I seen that? I don't know. I would stare at it, and yeah, if I had my phone or whatever, I would definitely film it for sure. But again, that can be debated. In my opinion, that can be debated. So I don't know. And then there's a couple videos that I recorded from YouTube that I think are very debatable, but you guys can let me know. All right, so this one here, this first one we're going to play, and I tried putting them in order, okay? So let's take a listen. This is called, and there's 4 of them, I think, Trumpets in the Sky. Now, I want you guys, if you have your headphones on or whatever, if your volume's down low, turn it up, because I want you guys to hear this.
With the Most High, I suggest y'all get right with the Most High, because that's a trumpet.
I was coughing, so I had to mute that. I gotta rewind this. This cracks me up. All right, you guys probably can't see it. But hold on, let me rewind it and see if you guys can read what the captions are saying, all right?
I suggest y'all get right with the Most High.
Okay, I suggest that you get right with the Most High. So, do it only because you're getting the crap scared out of you and you don't know what's going on. So now would be the time during, if that was the case, during that is the time to find righteousness and, try to do things right within split seconds. I just found that funny. That's just, if you're not right, man, then you better do it now, because it's all coming to an end. I should have did it and cleaned up my life a long time ago, but right now, no, I'm going to do it. And then I guarantee you when that sound ended, he went back to doing whatever he was doing. I just had to share that.
That's a trumpet.
It's coming from the sky. What is that?
Okay, remember I said earlier I heard like a thump before, like it was probably the only thing I think I've ever heard audibly. Too much whiskey. That was kind of the sound that I heard. I was trying to explain.
Yo, what is this sound? This is crazy. Sound been going off for like every minute or so. What the hell?
Okay, now, weird, right? Now, one would argue and say, well, now again, I tried to find footage older than, not the development of AI, but old enough so that this is going back 2012. Okay, so it's, AI, it probably existed, but not for consumer use as the way it does now. Well, the first, Mr. Connie says, the first one sounded like a ship's home to me, but then you would just, I was going to say, you just got off a cruise, so it might sound like some ships, Connie, the big air horns, yeah. War of the Worlds, Jen, it reminds you of that movie, yep. Wanda, maybe trees falling earlier. See, those are good guesses. Okay, they're really, really good guesses. And Dennis says he believes the sound comes from the moving of the Earth's mantle as the plates shift. Den may be onto something. I'm not going to say he is, but just for argument's sake, all right? Just for argument's sake. If people think that it's just one video centrally located, this next one, okay, this one comes from Finland. Okay, now here's what I appreciate about this video, right? Is when you're looking around, I don't know if that's father and son or two buddies, whatever. But you can tell, even if this was newer, you can tell by like their expressions that like they're just kind of dumbfounded and awestruck, right? So the authenticity of their response really makes it, I think, authentic for me, in my opinion.
Mistä vitusta toi tulee?
Yeah. See, that was different. That one didn't have the loud trumpety sound. That one, it was almost, I don't know, it was hard to explain. I mean, it could be airwave noise, just like there's space junk and air junk, whatever. Connie says, because this was in Finland, the sound could be associated with the northern lights, which are caused by the solar wind. Connie, good guess. Good guess. Good guess. I mean, you guys, I don't want to give it away. Again, this is solely based off of what we think it is, right? And this is cool because I love opinions to help figure out what this stuff is. I think it's cool. When I first discovered these a while back, I was like, okay, this is fake. Somebody's blowing an air horn or they're putting sound behind it, right? But these videos, because they're older and because of just like, there's nothing in my opinion that looks fake. Like they're not acting, they're not, going out of their way to say or to make things up or whatever, right? It's just, it appears natural to me, and I think that lends credibility to the video. Now, this one, for all of the, let me see, I know we've got several members. This next one is really cool. This one comes from Canada, all right, for all you Canadians out there. But this one comes from Canada. See, even Canada is experiencing these things. That's why I said I wanted to do several, because I didn't want it to think it was just a spoof video. But here is Canada. There's something different about this sound. I don't know if it's because of the mountains or whatever. But it almost sounds like an echo, doesn't it? Or like a bunch of elephants in the distance. Trombone. See, then it started getting louder and louder, but there's only so much of it you can really listen to, in my opinion. That one, so far, I think is the eeriest. And I think maybe because of the echo, right? It's, I don't know. I've got one more. All right. And then I'm going to go on to what allegedly is the explanation, and it may tie into line with what you guys are thinking, but I won't be done there. This just doesn't happen in the skies, right? And that's what's really cool about it. Let me see, what are you guys writing here? Oh, Freddy's hangover. Yeah, it could be then. Yeah, Freddy could be having a hangover. He's from Canada. Connie, you're right. You're looking into claims regarding certain types of bells having healing properties. So I can actually give you I'm like a huge Not well, I wouldn't go huge, but I'm a big fan of binaural beats. I actually have a program where I make them for various things. I really believe in not all of them. You got to be careful. Some can be very dangerous, but if you're using the right frequencies over certain hertz or under, it can also be very helpful too. There are a lot of healing properties that they found, but then the other side debates that it's all in your mind. Okay, well, that may be in your mind. Your subconscious is very powerful. It's like the sugar pill, right? The placebo of whatever it's called. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah. But either way, if your mind is telling it to do something, and whether it's healing or thinking positive, whatever, and it's doing what you want it to do, then I personally don't see what the big hype is. But again, I love that stuff. I really do. Well, Dennis, what you're talking about is they do, and Dennis said most bells were destroyed in communist countries. Yeah. So you're right, then. And what they were referring, well, actually, what you're referring to is, yeah, they would use certain sound waves to not eliminate, but pretty much incapacitate the opposing side, right? And these sounds were laid out within frequencies or hertz, right? There's delta, there's meta, there's theta. So different waves on different frequencies would obviously, they could literally cripple people, right? And they figured out how to use sound as opposed to bullets because it was more effective. All right, we're going to take a listen to this last one here. This, for all you Australians out there, I had to find one. This comes from Sydney, Australia.
Hey guys, come here. Andrew, Josh, do you hear that? Come here. Can you hear that noise?
You know, I could so picture Jude's. Hey guys, guys, can you hear that noise? Guys.
What is that? Coming from the sky.
You sure, Dad?
Come here.
Sounds like a trumpet, Dad.
What is that? So weird.
So scary.
Is that a trumpet or?
Is that a trumpet? Sounds like a trumpet, Dad. Is that a trumpet? Okay, first of all, I had to find something from Australia. We do have several members that are from Australia. But let's be honest, Australia, okay, even your trumpet sound in the sky was out of sync. It was so off base as compared to the other sounds. Like your trumpet sounds, they were not harmonious, right? They were not in sync. I mean, listen, Australia, if you're going to have weird sounds in the sky, you know, put a little effort into it. I mean, that was just a crapshoot from your trumpet sounds. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, but I do give them credit because Australia did have sounds in the sky. Jude, you got to get on that. That was just a bad rendition of what I'm trying to do here. But I give you guys credit. You know, at least you tried. That's because they're down under. Yeah, they're down under all right, man. Oh, crap. All right, so far, we've heard different sounds. Mainly, a lot of them have been trumpets. What sounds like trumpets. And thumps or bangs, some almost to a screech, right? Some would say it's like a screeching sound or what have you. So without me moving any further, some have said, Den had said it could be the plates in the earth shifting. Let me see. What else? I'm trying to read. I mean, that's... And Connie, what did you say it was again? I'm trying to look up here. Oh, then he says, the sounds come from moving of the Earth's mantle as plates shift. Okay, that's what it was. Wander, airwave, possibly, or falling tree. I don't want to leave Connie out because I know she said something here. So much easier looking at text on this podcast than Friday Night Show. Friday Night Show, man, they just fly. Well, of course, we got like 20 plus people in chat, so that's a little hard to follow. Okay, here, before I even play... Well, I can't tell you guys my assumption because I've already watched it. But even before, and I will be honest... No, Connie, I was trying to find your comment. That's the thing. I know you had said something, not the bells, but you had said something on what you think it is. And I was trying to find that. Oh, here you go. I found it, Connie. So the other one, I think was in Finland. You said the sound could be associated with the northern lights, which are caused by the solar wind. Okay. So to you and Dennis's point, right, and Wander's, we combine them. A blowhole. It sounds like a blowhole. Connie said it sounded like a blowhole in the ocean. I don't know what a blow... Oh, I know what you're talking about. When it... when it releases all the vapor and the gases. I'm assuming. Connie, we'll go with that. The volcanic release. Okay, a blowhole. That's what the blowhole is. Yeah. It's the because, well, there are volcanics underneath the ocean floor, or on the ocean floor, rather, right, that do release air and gases, and a lot of times they can actually go miles and miles up. I just never heard it called a blowhole. It could very well be called a blowhole, though, guys. I don't know. See, all right, so here's the thing, all right, is that everything you guys are saying is what I'm thinking, what I thought even when I heard this stuff, right? And even when I play these next videos, I think because we are trained to have a blockade, if you will, a disbelief and a belief, right? We're trained, we were talking about faith the last episode, which is basically that old term, blind faith, right? It's basically believing in what you can't see. You have to feel it, right? And so I think because we are so trained to ignore the obvious that we don't see it, right? And I think that holds true for even things that we hear. And maybe it could be shifting of the plates, or a blowhole, or the northern lights, or trees falling, or caves, or sound traveling. Here's the thing. Even if it's all of the above, what I don't get, what my mind doesn't wrap around, it could be earthquakes, Jennifer. It could be earthquakes. Yeah, I mean, it could It could be. But here's the thing, though, I don't understand, is if it's all of those things you guys are saying, right, and what I believe on top of, what I'm having a hard time comprehending is, okay, if it's all those, then how does that sound? Say it's the ocean. Let's use that one, okay? How is that being heard inland? You know what I mean? Like, so in other words, these videos, like what I showed you guys, okay, that's being heard, obviously, there in the sky. Nobody knows where it's coming from. There's no pinpoint to it. But in the next city or town over, they don't hear it. It's like in a vast area, but other than that, it's not being heard. But then to contradict that statement, there's videos where people would report in one country and then the other simultaneously. I mean, NASA, space stuff, whatever the heck it is, they keep accurate recordings and data, and they would all report these sounds, these frequencies simultaneously from one side of the world to the other. So that kind of doesn't explain that theory either, right? It pretty much, if it was something that was like local or something even in the ocean or whatever, well, that kind of debunks my thinking as to, okay, maybe it's because it's concentrated, but it's so vast that it sounds like it's bigger than what it is. But then that doesn't make any sense according to the data that they have, the geologists. So I throw that out of the window. And then I'm like, well, if it's heard on one side of the planet and the other side of the planet, how does that happen? Which brings me to Dennis's theory. It absolutely is eerie, Dennis, no matter how it's made. I agree. I concur 100%. So let's get to what they think. Now, again, I think this is Inside Edition. This is years ago. Who knows? Probably get a strike for this again. Who knows at YouTube anymore? You sneeze and it's a copyright. Jeez. Okay, this one, what order did I have them in? I don't know, but this is called, there's two, I think, of the same one, but I think one is a little more lengthy and goes into more explanation. But this is called NASA Space Sounds, I think. Let's take a look. That's pretty badass right there. I made that. And of course that. Here we go. Don't worry, you'll see on the other one. Okay, I gotta remove, let me just X-name myself right here for a second. So nearly all types of astronomical objects give off some radio radiation, but the strongest sources of such emissions include pulsars, certain nebulars, quasars, radio galaxies, and the planets. And then I'm going to show you the next one right after this, because this one's not that long. We're going to jump right into this one right here. Good night, Wanda. Sleep
The
well.
magnetic field isn't something we can actually see or hear in itself, but we can see its effects on the Earth's atmosphere in the form of the stunning visual display called the Aurora Borealis, or the Aurora Australis. And now we can also hear it. Researchers from the Technical University of Denmark took the magnetic signals, the radio frequencies measured by the European Space Agency's Swarm satellite mission, and converted them into sound. The result is an eerie representation of our planet's rumbling magnetic field and its interaction with a solar storm. The audio clip you're about to experience might sound like the stuff of nightmares, but sit back, relax, and listen to the strange creaking, crackling, and rumbling of our planet's protective shield. This is the sound of the Earth's magnetic field.
Okay, now you're both correct on your theories, okay? Connie, you did say solar lights. Now, I never, to be honest, I watched the other video. I didn't watch the elongated part of that. There's actually another one that's much, much longer, but I didn't want to play the whole thing. But I didn't hear that initially. I did hear plates, and that's why I was saying Den's onto something. And I think, too, I heard about the solar lights. But what I didn't realize, Connie, is that the solar lights actually give off a sound. Yeah, it's solar wind. I'm sorry, solar wind. Well, it's in reference to the solar lights, right? But here's the thing. Most recently, we've all, not, I haven't, I've been trying to go out every time. They said the solar glare or whatever it was, the northern lights would be visible or the like. There was some right up the street from me. I didn't even see them. But even if, now I'm not saying they're wrong. I mean, they're the experts. They have all the scientific data for that stuff, right? But it doesn't, what still doesn't make sense to me is that solar wind, the magnetic fields, all that stuff, the plates shifting, everything, it's like, how is it focused in certain areas and then it's, now here's what I could understand. I could understand if when that happens, you could hear it from one continent to the other. But what I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around is how in the world is it focused in one area, right? But that's it. Like, how does... I guess I overthink things too much. Maybe that's my problem, and I will 100% accept blame for that. But either way, when you think about it, right? Think of the Earth. Now, that was the sun, right? The solar sounds. There's videos. You can actually watch them live. In the telescope, NASA, they have, obviously, cameras and these super sensitive microphones, unlike what we have to sing with. But these super sensitive microphones, they pick up, and even in frequencies, right? When you listen to it, I actually use it a lot of times for sleep. But you can hear the space, the Earth as it's rotating. It's like, it's eerie, but in a sense, it's relaxing. And the cool thing about that stuff is even after everything we just heard, the information, well, the little information, and really go nuts with it. Yeah, Jennifer, you're right. It's like it's raining one spot, not the other. Exactly. Oh, whew. I tell you what. Next time we do weird things, I've got videos of that stuff that I've got to debunk. I think a lot of it's crap, but that's my opinion. But to get back to my point here, I'm kind of weaving. Is that what was I saying, Jennifer? You made me lose my thought. Yeah. All right. So what's really cool about it is that everything from the trees to the molecules, water, us, obviously, dirt, the planets, everything is a living, breathing, self-sustaining life. It's a living organism. Whether that's gases, whether that's microbes, neutrons, electrons, protons, right? It's all living from the bottoms of the depths of the ocean all the way to space till as far as we can see or science takes us. You can hear it. You can physically see it. It's living and breathing. And when you think about it, how massive and awesome is that? Right? And I'm not going to get biblical on anybody. I promise this show wouldn't be about, political stuff and all that. But I have to say, I've got to stress just the obvious here. In my opinion, when I look and hear, even just stepping outside and look at the sky and it's blue and there's clouds, even when it's snowing, or raining, whatever. And then I see stuff like this, like of space, the galaxies, the stars, everything has its place, its perfection. Nothing is out of order. Everything is strategically placed. The Earth rotates, 4,000 miles an hour or something like that? But it rotates and tilts in its perfect rotation, its perfect tilt at the exact speed, the exact tilt. And the sun is the exact distance. I think it's 4 millimeters or 4 centimeters, either farther away or closer. Either or, we would either burn or freeze. But it's precisely placed. And everything has a season. It has its reasons, right? When you think about that, in my opinion and feeling, like, that can't be chanced. That just doesn't happen. This is too grand, too methodical, too thought out, too precise for something to just go, here you go. Like, I don't know. I know what I know and what I believe, but for me, I can't wrap my head, even fathom how something just happens, And I'm not putting anybody down, whether they believe in creation or they don't. That's their belief. I'm telling you mine. And I get awestruck when I see that. It just blows my mind. And it makes me appreciate it more. I just have more of appreciation for things. Let me see. Connie said solar winds, which are charged particles. They are charged particles. You're 100% right. That I do know, Connie. Jennifer, yeah, you're right. I'm going to get to that later on in another episode. I was telling you about that. I try to go through the comments here. When sound travels, Dennis said, through various natural mediums, it can speed up. It can slow down. It can get caught in a medium where it just stays there and vibrates for eternity. Okay, then you're getting methodical and a little deep on me here, bro. But I like it. I like it. And you also said if you hook up a plant to a monitor and watch its frequency signature, and then cut a piece off. The frequency goes up high like it's screaming. Have you tried that, Den? I'm curious, but I like that. I like that madness in your brain right now, Den. I like that. Because I'm like that too, man. I'm like so methodical. It's really disgusting. It's actually eerie sometimes, and it can be, what's what I'm looking for? It can be a handicap. Oh, you saw videos? Yeah. But that's cool. But what's weird then is right here in your ending, you said it can get caught in a medium where it just stays there and vibrates. So here's what I did. Then I'm going to take this. Okay, you said when sound travels through various natural mediums. Let's do this. Sound travels. Watch what I did for you guys. Through natural mediums. Okay. What is the medium that sound travels through? She looks like a dork. What I did was I went ahead and oh, this looks interesting. I went ahead and I screen captured some stuff. And the reason I did this is I wanted to have a live. So if I wanted to look something up, I want everybody to see it. All right, so let me do this. So if somebody comments like what Dennis just did, and I want to see it, I want to see the video of it, then we can do that. So Dennis says, science has been trying to find a way to get the trapped sounds from walls, rock, etc., and get conversations from... Okay, now, then that's a whole nother conversation. Sound trapping, I've heard of that. Yeah, that's some deep, deep stuff, man. That's like 2001 Space Odyssey stuff right there, brohams. That is some deep stuff. But let's take a look at this.
Hey you guys, Mr. Reeves here. So I want to do a demonstration of sound waves for you. And to do that, I've got these devices. They're called tuning forks.
Okay, now I don't know if this is relevant, but it has to do with sound. And it says sound wave demo with tuning forks and a bowl of wagwa. So I want to see what this is about.
Each one produces a different frequency. Can you predict which one has the higher frequency? I don't know. Think about it. All right, let's try the little one first. So I'm going to bang it on the table and listen to the sound. Oh, yeah, that hurts my ears from here. All right, and then let's try the bigger one. This one's longer. So what did you predict? Yeah, this one's the lower frequency. Okay, the longer it is, the lower the frequency. Remember, frequency is vibrations or pitch, right? Okay, you can do something really cool with these. I'm gonna take the bigger one. I've got a little bowl of water here.
There he goes.
This is gonna get a little crazy. I'm gonna take
This
this,
guy's gonna get crazy.
and I'm gonna hit it hard on the table.
Block your ears.
And I'm gonna put it in the water, watch. Oh, do you see the water shoot all over the place? I'm gonna do it one more time.
That was weird.
You can't see the forks moving, but when you put it in the water, you could clearly...
Hey, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. Okay, so... All right. I think I'm understanding this, how this, you know what? This is actually a good video. This might tie into what I was literally just featuring and what you guys were just saying. And yes, good night, Connie. It's understandable, but thank you for joining us. Yeah, this here, that's cool. Like, I think I'm putting something together here.
Really see the energy and the speed at which those forks are moving when it has that sound. So let's try the little one just for fun. Okay, here's a little one. Probably not going to move as much. Oh, let's try it again. Whoa, that one worked good too. All right.
Okay. That was weird. But I think I understand. All right. So then what you just said was the water is the medium. So, all right. So everything we just heard that I played for you guys, right? What you're saying is, but okay, so the long prongs, I'm going to guess they're representing a further distance or a more absorbent sound travel, right? The medium is, I'm going to assume, the air, right? Is that what that's... And I'm asking because I don't know. And usually then I pretty much know everything. But I don't know. So the sound, I'm assuming, is the air. So it's like a buffer. It's like an amplifier. But see, Jennifer, I don't know. That's the thing, right? Like, we're not aquatic. So I mean, you can hear whales, but only with certain instruments. That's a good question. The long one, Dennis said, which is a low sound, moves slower. It affects the water. Different. Huh. Yeah, but... that really blows my mind. Only because I thought I had it figured out up until that point, with the exception, obviously, of how it's like centralized in one place, but then you can hear from different part of the world and another part of the world at the same time, but not all the time. Now it's just getting more confusing. Yeah. So you're saying, Dennis, that the air spreads the sound and it travels and never stops unless it gets trapped. Alrighty then. So what you're saying is, do I have anything here? Okay. If, in theory, I could take one of those things, bang it, go outside. Okay? What you're saying is the air is the medium, give or take. And that sound will continue. So there's no obstructions. Let's just say it's open from here to Kansas. And that sound that I just did, and I banged it, or let's just say, for argument's sake, I banged it outside. And that sound will travel from here to Kansas so long as there's no physical obstructions. And hence, you're saying unless it gets trapped. So by trapped, is that a physical object, say a mountain, a tree, or something like that? Or is it getting trapped by other air, such as air pockets, air waves? You follow me? I'm not following me either. I'm trying to understand it. blows my mind how this stuff works. It really, really does. That is amazing. That little experiment, at first I thought it was stupid and it didn't mean anything, but that little experiment just kind of proved something. I still don't understand it, and I'm trying to, very quick, on the spot, live, understand that. And Dennis, I got to give you a lot of credit, man. You're making a lot of sense to things that I don't quite understand, but I will. I really, really will. But that's cool. So all of that stuff happens. I still don't understand, though, if it's traveling in the sound, but it gets trapped somewhere. Once that sound leaves my ear or within my hearing ability, I've assumed or would think that at some point it's got to dissipate. I know everything is energy. I understand that everything has energy at some point, right? But I don't understand how sound can just continue and continue and continue and continue and continue and continue. Perhaps. So Dennis said, correct, and it will leave Earth eventually. Not all solids will trap sound. It will allow it to pass through. Then we got to write a book. We got to rewrite science. I think we solved it. Jennifer says, almost like yelling into a cave and it echo, Yeah. And you know what makes sense, in all seriousness, is if you did that, and say it's a sound on ginormous effect. If that sound goes through a mountain or something, that would change the structure of that sound, the decibel. Therefore, creating a whole new sound. So I think, and if it travels out of whichever it hits, whatever physical object it hits, I would think it would continue. If that's the line of thinking, again, I'm just completely throwing it out here, but then it would continue to travel. And so what it started off, one sound, 1 decibel, it hits an obstruction, then it kind of turns into something different because it's no longer that same decibels when it first left its origin, and then it just continues. Man, that stuff will blow you. No wonder why these guys are all nut jobs, Dan. Because that's all they do is they think of this stuff and they come up with these scenarios. Like, that's why when you watch movies and stuff, Dennis, right? They're all these dudes just geeking out over things like that and getting excited. Man, I can relate to that. I can relate to geeking out over science and doing that stuff. That would be so cool. Just to geek out over sound. Dennis says people have picked up old TV shows from way back on the oldest style TVs, but not on the new TVs. I've heard that sound travel or whatever, or sound trap or whatever it's called. I've heard that. I don't know though. Dan, I haven't heard it myself, but I've heard of it. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about that. I don't know how that would work. Again, I just proved my intellect when it came to the science I just featured here, or whatever it is, right? So I can't argue to something that I'm not certain of, but I don't know how that would. Imagine that, though. Something from 1950s. You hear a clip of an old TV show, and it literally just continues to travel. That is so weird. Like, this is blowing my mind. I know a lot of people that vibrate constantly, Dan. Well, if you think about it now, everything's digital, right? Because apparently the natural radio waves that we do have that are free, they charge us for. They just eliminated them. Well, they eliminated it for consumption, for free consumption. It's kind of like they take, it's like they say, you know what? Nobody owns the sun, but we are going to charge you to use it to power your house or power a vehicle or whatever. But even though we don't own it, we're going to come up with a way to harness it and then charge you for something that's already there that exists. Isn't that weird? Kind of ironic. It's like water. You know, they can actually take ocean water and distill it, and it's drinkable. I guess it costs millions of dollars. Who knows? But, all right, then I'm going to play one more video, and then I'm going to open up the line. This is fun. Like I said, I love doing this stuff. You know, maybe it'll catch on. Maybe it won't. Maybe I don't care. Maybe I'm just having fun. Who knows? But this is fun stuff. And you'll learn a lot, man. I learn a lot. And I'm having fun. All right, so now this one here, I'm going to kind of have to pause several times. Because you gotta, it's one thing about a lot of these videos that I find is they're blurry, they're fuzzy, they're never on point. It's always, the camera just happens to be in the right spot, the right time, and apparently nobody happens to see it, or if they do, it's by coinkydink. So there's a lot of skepticism there on my end about stuff, but I'm not saying people that are, uploading it or recording it are lying. What I'm saying is my skepticism says it's too much of a coincidence. I don't see enough verifiable proof that convinces me. I haven't seen it. And in the fact, I have my suspicions on if in fact these things do exist. I have my opinion on what I think it is. But at this point, it's irrelevant. So I want to play this next one. And then I'm going to play the whole thing first. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to play it again and pause it. And then I want to explain something. You failed science, Jennifer? Science was one of my favorite subjects. It really was. But I failed it too. I basically failed everything in school. So, don't feel bad. I didn't really care for school. I thought it was a waste of my time. Well, thanks, Dan. I get an A+, Dennis says, in this format. Okay, let's move on to this video. Now, I titled them according to how I saw. All right, so let's do this one. This one cracks me up. This is called, I called it Ranger Bigfoot. All right, let's take a look.
Your log, there's been some strange happenings going on. Currently the board wants me to just come down here and do some surveillance. A lot of trees being snapped in weird places. And, the biggest problem is that all these Bigfoot TV shows that are coming on.
Oh, hold on, Dan. All right. I just read Dennis's comment. I thought he was complimenting me, saying I got an A+ on this. But no, he was complimenting Jen I thought he was giving me a compliment saying that I'm so smart that he gives me an A+. But no, he gave Jen an A+. So, Den, treading lightly here, brother.
Discovery Channel and History Channel. We're finding that a lot of teenagers are coming out here and doing some strange things. You know, trying to create a clamor about it. You know, I can't really judge them though, because I'd probably do the same thing if I was, you know, 20, 18, 17, 16. I'm not talking about the biggest and the brightest though. And the things that they're doing out here is actually endangering a population of turtles in the local area. So I'm just kind of trying to catch these teens on camera. So far I haven't really found anybody, but there's definitely been some suspicious parked cars out here. Putting in overtime at the park. What's that? What is that? Holy hell. I never thought this could be possible, but...
Okay, I'm going to pause it here. Now, I'm going to go back to Ranger Bigfoot. Let's scroll to... where was it? Okay. I have a lot of questionable things about this video. First of all, now I don't know that much about rangering or park ranger or park patrol. Well, not only is it blurry, but I want you to listen to the commentary, okay? This does not sound like Ranger Rick. Now, who is Ranger Rick? I don't know. He's a name I just made up. I'm going to call him Ranger Rick. But listen to what he's saying, and I'm going to point out the obvious here.
Create a clamor about it. You know, I can't really judge them though, because I'd probably do the same thing if I was, you know, 20, 18, 17, 16.
So the guy says, I can't really judge him though, blame him, you know, because if I was 20, 18, 17, 16, I don't know, dude, what if you were 5?
Not talking about the biggest and the brightest though.
Okay, so then after he goes on to say, I can't really blame him, but he's not talking about the biggest and the brightest, and he's talking about endangered or ruining turtles. And what he's trying to do ultimately here, and this is kind of a fun video to pick apart. Now again, I'm not putting the guy down, and he could be legit. I don't know, but you're walking around with a very shaky video, very fuzzy, very blurry, kind of looks like you just took out your phone and started recording something, and we don't know where you are. You're walking around trying to catch kids on video. Well, if you're a ranger or a park dude or something, wouldn't... Okay, first of all, here's the dead giveaway for me. Number one, I think or assume they would have security cams, trail cams, right, in these certain areas where they think there's some type of activity or vandalism or something going on to squish a turtle or whatever it is. But instead, they send out Ranger Rick with a shaky phone.
And the things that they're doing out here is actually endangering a population of turtles.
Okay, Ranger Rick, what are they doing? Like, he doesn't clarify. See, this is what makes me think this video is, I don't know.
In the local area. So I'm just kind of trying to catch these teens on camera.
Right, because they don't have trail cameras.
So far I haven't really found anybody, but there's definitely been some suspicious parked cars out here.
Okay, now here it comes. This would, to me, this would have been more believable, okay, if it was a side, like maybe a piece of them, or you could see a side image of them. But watch the way this thing sticks its head around the tree. I'm going to try to pause it on that moment.
overtime at the park.
Oh, Andy's getting overtime at the park. That's an important detail to let everybody know about this video.
What's that?
Okay. Now, should I or should you point out the obvious? Let's go back a frame and watch this. I wish I could slow this down. I actually could slow this down, I think. Let me see if I can slow this down. Hold on, guys. Let me go into here. I want to really slow this down. I'm going to super slow it. Let's see if we can do this here. Oh, yeah, there we go. Now I got to start it back here. Here we go. I got rid of his voice. It's aggravating me. Okay, it's coming up. I had to super slow it because I wanted to see if we can catch it. It's coming up. Okay, so you can see it right there. There we go. Wicked slow motion. Okay. The rest is pretty much him running and blah, blah, blah. All right. But here's the thing, guys. When you look at this, out of all the places, he's walking up and down the bunny trail and just so happens to have his camera, again, aimed in the right direction. It's blurry. And it looks to me like a costume. Now, again, I could be wrong. I don't know. I wasn't there. But based off of this video, well, he starts running, right? And he's going, yelling and all that stuff. But a normal reaction to how he reacts, it just, and again, maybe it's how this dude reacts. I don't know. Maybe Rangerick gets overly excited. But it just, I don't know. The video feels as if it was like a prop, right? Nothing in his video makes sense. But to his credit, though, he posted it. It's uploaded. I give him credit because he took the initiative, and maybe it is something that we can't explain. I don't know. But that was kind of weird. I mean, you guys got to agree. And if you're watching this video, and Ranger Rick, if you're watching this video, I'm not making fun of you. I'm just stating out my opinion and what just looks kind of weird. It's just, I don't know. Like, everything about it was weird. You know what I mean? I would think that, well, number one, again, they should have, trail cams or some type of thing, right? That's what I said. It just looks too faked. Again, the phone or video, whatever, it's just there in the right time, the right place, the right angle. Then all of a sudden, oh, did you see that? No, we didn't see that. And it looked like a costume, like this dude had a costume on. Like, the hair didn't even look real. Most of these videos I've seen, I can give them credit, and I've seen a lot that I'm just like, okay, dude, you faked that one. But I'm going to show you another one that I don't know what it is. It's really hard to make out because it's in the background. And there are some that do appear then to be real, whatever it is, right? I don't know. See, that's the argument. However, here's my counter. Do you ever watch that show, Finding Bigfoot, I think it is, whatever. Okay. It's probably one of the better ones I've watched. They don't... I don't know if that's the name of it, but anyways, there was 4 of them, but anyways, they go to Alaska, they bring drones, they bring all technology and stuff, and they stay there days on end, right? They camp out, they do all this stuff, and they have actually collected some pretty cool things. They're probably like one of the only shows that I've watched where it's not like all hype, where, did you hear that? Did you hear that? There's actual footage of things, infrared and stuff, that kind of blows your mind. Now, is it for entertainment? We don't know. But if it is, in fact, real, what they're shooting and what they're filming and everything else, then they are by far the closest thing that I've seen to getting some sort of evidence or what have you, right? Yeah, Jen's pretty smart then. Well, she used to be. But, yeah, so I don't know. Again, I've got my opinion on what I think some of that stuff is. All right. So let's move on to this one. Actually, before we do that, we got to take a little commercial break here from our sponsor. Yeah, that was from our sponsor, of course, DCG Entertainment. Yeah, this is a DCG production. Someday, then, we're going to be on there with the multi-millions of top YouTubers. But, you know what? Either way, I'm happy because, especially our Friday night shows, we have such a great show. Jen, you've been to our Friday night shows, right? We have such great members, awesome community. So it's a lot of fun. And Thursday nights, we do offline karaoke on Zoom. Judy hosts that. She should be sending out the links tomorrow, I think, in the members group. You can sign up for a member's email if you are a musician or a singer or even just want to join into the live chats. That is dennycoolshow@gmail.com. All right, ladies and gentilesmen. Let me see here. Yeah, and people are like, why do you want to do a talk podcast? Like, there's so many of them. I'm like, because I want to do something different. I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about the crap going on. I want to get people away from that. And it may take a while, you know, I'm learning. But either way, even if I talk to myself, I'm having fun. the smoke and smoldering fire. Then I should have a podcast of just smoldering fire. Okay. Then I'm going to open up the phone line for you. But I want to play this one right here. All right. See, we did Ranger Bigfoot. Let's do Bigfoot Backyard. So this one you gotta, and I'll go back, all right, but you gotta watch it. This one, I don't know what it is, but this one I believe is real. Whatever it is that was in the backyard, I believe this is one. This isn't faked. I don't think it is, because you can tell, all right? This was not something that was set up. It was unexpected, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about by, you know, watching the video, all right? But let's take a look. Switch sides. Here it comes. Okay, now did you miss it? Did you see where it was? I wrote down the time, 9:38:30. So the camera, right, picks it up. Obviously, it's like some type of door ring cam or something. It's very, very, like, you gotta, I had to watch it several times. Matter of fact, I gotta go back and look for it. But you can see just about, let me see. It's so minute. Hold on, guys. This thing looks like a liar. Because the dude comes out. Okay, it's right here. But you can't really see it, though. You know, maybe, let me see, let me do it again. Okay, so right, see, you can't see my clicker. Anyways, to the left of the porch, right after the telephone pole, you can see something go from there, from left to right. See it? Right there. So if you look behind the telephone pole, I'm going to play it again. Watch it from behind the telephone pole. Right there. Now, again, it's hard to see, but if you watch back after, you can actually, you know, zoom it up, I guess. But this, to me, the guy comes out, he's got his, I don't know, looks like a shotgun or something, and then you can hear the dog. Well, you can't hear the dog. But what I find interesting about this particular video is, you know, it's a back porch, it's woods, right? And it's not set up to where it's propped. And then the fact that it's not obvious in regards to like that other one with Ranger Rick. This is, I had the sound turned off, but you could hear his dog barking and stuff like that. And that was seconds before he come out. And when you watch behind that telephone pole, it goes from left to right. But I don't know, to kind of call it, like the video says, Bigfoot spotted in backyard, or something to that. Like, for me, I wouldn't go as far as saying it was a Bigfoot. The only, unless you could have something, I think that if you're uploading something like that and you're claiming that it's this, that, or the other, and I get it, it's probably, he knows his woods, he knows the backyards, he knows animals that are out there. It looks like a bipedal creature. But I would just say that if you're going to upload stuff like this and you're going to title it as such, right, then maybe have it so that it's enlarged or zoomed in a little bit better so that at least the viewers can kind of see what it is. That was difficult to see unless you really look for it. Yeah, it wasn't recognizable, but that's what I'm saying, though. So the only thing I would have liked for him to have done, if possible, is to have enlarged that, Dennis, so that when you're watching it, you'd be able to see, whether you could make out what it was, you could at least see more of the, physical part of it, right? So you'd be able to see more physical of it. All right, we're going to do this last one then I'm going to open the phone lines. If anybody wants to call in, I will announce that. This one is called, now this is kind of weird. Again, it's another one you look out for, but I'll pause it. I titled this Creature in the Woods. All right, let's take a look at this last one. This is called Creature in the Woods. I have so many weird things that I wanted to do tonight, but I wanted to keep it simple. I didn't want to go overboard because I get too excited about this stuff. It's so much fun. Dennis says he would have liked to have seen the guy jump the rail and go after him. Wouldn't that be cool? You're watching the video, the guy gets all belligerent. Hey! He's got a shotgun. See, that's the thing. Whenever I see these videos, right, that's the one thing, with the exception of that show I was telling you about, Finding Bigfoot, and I think that's the name of it, but is that none of these, and if it is a large bipedal ape-like creature, let's just even say it's a gorilla or a bear, yeah, common sense tells you don't go running after it. However, if you got a gun, right, and you see something, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. For me, I guess I could say it because I'm sitting here in my chair and I'm not in the woods with a gun. Maybe it's different. Maybe that flight or fight mode kicks in. So, I don't know. My intrigue would probably be if I had a form of protection such as a shotgun, maybe a 22 or 12 or something like that, 12 gauge, I probably would go running after it, I don't know. If it was a gorilla, you might be a little screwed because I don't know if a 22 would do any damage to that thing. It might hurt it, but I don't think it'd kill it. You'd probably rip your arms and stuff off first, It'd take your head and just eat it for a meatball. But I don't know. But I do give this guy a lot of credit, though, because, again, it's not faked. Whatever that was, I just wish it would have been a little bit larger so we could see more of it, But I do give him credit. That would have been cool, though. Yeah, had he jumped over the rail, him and his dog, and went chasing after like Stachi and Hutch. All right, let's take a look at this one. Creature in the Woods. Okay, so I'm slowing it down and paused it right on there. Can you guys see anything? I won't point it out. Okay, so Jennifer, you seen it. Okay, we hit play. Okay, that's probably the better shot. So, I don't know, because when I look at this, first, yeah, yep, exactly. But let me just put let me try to put a little framework to this story. And then maybe what I say might make a lot more sense as to what I'm trying to explain. So let's roll back. Okay, let's hit play. So it's some sort of, I don't know, construction yard, or I would say like a gravel pit or something like that. Again, I'm not super sure. Maybe entrance to the dump. I don't know. But there is a lot of stuff there. Could be a lumber yard. I don't know. But what I'm getting at is that, look at all this area. Now, that may be wetland. You can see it's roped off for a reason. And again, that could be wetland, or it could be a drop. It could be a cliff. I don't know. But what's also highly noticeable is that aside from his headlight, now he could have a side mount, right? A spotlight either rigged to the top of his truck, or a mirror side mount, right, with a spot on it. But you can definitely see the spotlight coming from somewhere. And the reason I'm saying that is because, again, it's like in the right spot. It picks it up. And the other noticeable thing that I've noticed is when you're looking at it, now this could be a, what they call, I said it earlier, like Matrix, where it could be, it looks like to me, like when I look at this, what this looks like to me is if you blink a couple times, right? Like if you close your eyes, open them, and then blink, believe it or not, that will actually clear up around the image. I know it's a weird thing to do, but it works. So if you look at the image, then you close your eyes, you see whatever it is in your head, you open it up, and you blink. Okay, what that does is that distorts everything else around it and allows you to focus on that image itself. It's kind of weird. It works more for like those hidden images, but I kind of do it with this stuff. But if you look at it, it's like somebody's wearing a hoodie blanket, almost like a big fuzzy warm blanket. It looks like a human face inside there. But then the other thing I'm thinking too is when you look around, you can see a bunch of birch trees. And maybe behind it, some other dead wood or something. But there's a lot of brown underneath that gray area. You know, the color scheme doesn't match behind the birch, but it's stagnant, like this, and it looks solid, right? I don't see any type of length to it beyond, because it kind of looks like it looks like that's a stump, right? Like a half a tree stump right in between those two white birch trees. You can see the browning right there, which to me looks like a log or some sort of half a tree or something. And it could very well be a piece of fabric, because the reason I pointed out that I rewound it as he was driving in about it could be a lumber yard, could be a sand pit, could be whatever, is maybe it's a piece of material that just happened to land right, and it's sitting on top of a piece of a broken tree or a stump that gives it that look. I've seen that many, many times. I've taken pictures and stuff where when I look at it after, I'm like, whoa, that's a face. But when you walk up to it and you look at it at a different angle and you take a picture from a different angle, it's totally something different, right? It's not. So this could all be, and I'm not saying it's trickery or done on purpose. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I always try to put the obvious to what I think is that it could just be a sleight of the eye, where you think you're seeing one thing. And the reason I say that is because it stands out from everything else. So it's obviously not a tree, like a birch tree, that grayish thing, whatever it is. And it kind of looks, like I said, like a hoodie almost, well, a little face in it. Dude almost looks like he has a mustache. Maybe it's like camouflage and he's in a blind. Maybe he was out there hunting, right? So all these things pop up in my head that I'm thinking. So I try to rule everything out first before I just jump to it being a creature or something. I don't see it. Sully from Monster Inc. Yeah. It could be a rock formation. Absolutely. Right? So, I mean, again, those are just things that I look for. And I just think a lot of times I think that people just kind of jump to assumption. Your mind wants to see one thing, and it's actually playing a trick on you versus what it actually is. And again, it's not to put anybody down who's taking the video, but it's my opinion, and I try to rule out what I think things could not be, and I try to rule in what I think things could be. Doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean I'm wrong, but those were weird things. The thing that got me the most was 100% the sounds from the sky. And I've heard and seen a lot of weird stuff, but that to me was by far the weirdest thing I think that I've heard. I can't say I've seen because I can't see sound, but I've heard, right? And so of all the things I've experienced, not personally, but video, and again, that's older stuff. So I don't believe as if that was a spoof. I don't believe that's AI. If it was newer today, I'd be like, yeah, I don't really believe it. But that to me really blows my mind. It could be the indomitable snowman, Jennifer. You are absolutely right. He's just hanging out, right? Maybe the indomitable snowman wanted to roast some marshmallows on my fire. And maybe the indomitable snowman wants some chocolate and we can make some s'mores together. But yeah. And again, those are just random clips, right, that I found. But I do love the sound stuff. Like, I love that sound stuff. As a matter of fact, what's weird is, okay, this here is a short. Let me just get this really quick. Speaking about sound, right, I'm going to go over to YouTube screen here, see if I can. Okay, I think you guys can see this. Okay, this, it's quick, but this is supposedly he's lifting a rock with sound. Okay, this is why I wanted to do a live screen feed, because I wanted to, research a couple things while I was doing this stuff. So let's watch this. Again, it's a short, it's not long, but let's take a look at this.
is lifting a rock only using a long tubular instrument. Well, it's actually just a tinfoil, but still, how is this even possible? While some of you may think this is staged or a trick, this is actually real. This phenomenon, known as acoustic levitation, uses sound waves to create low pressure points called nodes. Objects in between these nodes will float due to sound force balancing out gravity. So this barefoot man is lifting a rock.
Okay. Hold on, I gotta see this one more time.
Only using a long tubular instrument. Well, it's actually just a tinfoil, but still, how is this even possible? While some of you may think this is staged or a trick, this is actually real. This phenomenon, known as acoustic levitation, uses sound waves to create low pressure points called nodes. Objects in between these nodes will float due to sound force balancing out gravity. So this...
Yeah. That's weird. That is really weird. He's lifting it with sound. Like lifting tinfoil, whatever it is, with sound. I mean, that's just insane. That's some cool stuff, though, right? That is really, really cool stuff. How do you not love that stuff, man? And just geek out over it? Oh, okay. Look. All right. All right. All right. For example... All right, for example, let me show this to you guys. This is why I love doing these live capture feeds. Let's go back real quick. Now, again, I'm just, I have it on one thing. I'm just searching here. So let me just go. Okay. You guys can obviously see what it's about to play. Now, this is where... It's so hard now for your imagination and your mind and everything else to try to draw a reasonable conclusion to things because there are so many people putting fakes out there via the use of AI. And I get it. It's cool. It's fun. But the problem is it's flooding everything. And, you know... It's almost like you gotta over-research to find something that's real. But let's take a look.
This footage captured something we cannot explain. Watch.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm gonna pause it right there. This... I don't know. This is weird.
This footage captured something we cannot explain. Watch.
Okay, here's what tells me that this is not real. Then you know how you said it'd be cool if that guy jumped over his railings to go after whatever it was in the woods? Okay. I'm going to tell you what I wouldn't run after would be this. If I'm with my dog, and my dog can handle himself, but if I'm with my dog, and I see a winged creature, this guy is as calm as a freaking cucumber. And the one thing you notice, look how calm his dog is. His dog's head tilts and stays, if I'm not mistaken, let's rewind.
This footage captured something we cannot explain.
So his dog's head remains in this position, ears up, onward looking, almost directing in front of that tree.
Watch.
Let's watch. The thing spreads its wings. Dog's still looking, has not moved. Dog's not even freaking out. Dog's not barking. Oh my God. No stand. Yeah, there's no stand here either. Okay, so this dog, German Shepherds are notorious, known. They don't care what it is. I've had German Shepherds. If truly this was something right? Every German Shepherd that I've had, they would go after this thing, full throttle. You would have to chase your dog down to prevent it from going after this. I get it. It's big. It's scary looking, whatever. And the dog's probably like, I don't know what it is. But what tells me that this good chance this is AI is that, number one, it probably says it somewhere in the description here. YouTube usually requires it, and I'm sure it is AI, and it could be tricking you to think, hey, look at the awesome magic I did. But if I weren't to read any descriptions, or if I were to just look at this video for face value, when you research it, this is how a lot of times, guys, when you're looking at stuff, don't believe everything you're looking at. You want to observe surroundings in the videos. You want to pay attention to certain things. Like the dead giveaway, because I've had German Shepherds, this dog would just be a nutbag going after that thing. Whether he got throttled or not, this dog would be at that thing. And that guy would not be standing there so calmly filming this thing. So I can debunk that safely without even reading anything, whether it's AI or not, to tell you that that is not real. There is no way that thing is real. And that's the problem. That's what kind of stinks about a lot of this stuff, is that you want to have fun with things, but at the same time, it's like, all right, man, this is a little overboard. Yeah, I wouldn't be standing there. Then I could have a rocket launcher, and I would not be. Let's pretend that that was real, right? You'd have to have a flight of F-16s behind me or something. Even then, I'd run. I would tuck everything between my legs, man, and I'd be like Flash Gordon, dude, and I would be out of there. I'd be calling Superman and whoever else come to my rescue. Well, because if that thing existed, Superman would exist. He would have to, right? But yeah, stuff like that, it's cool to watch, but again, it just floods the market so much with crap that after a while, when you're trying to watch videos, it's like, oh man, another AI, another AI, another AI. But again, hey, I love the creation of it. I love the artistic value. You know, it is cool to see that stuff. But anyways, all right, the line is open for those that have it and that wish to calleth me. My line is open. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or don't, that's fine either way. But there's a Jennifer, yeah. Shepherd, yeah. Yes, that's the dead giveaway too, right? Like a lot of these videos that you look at, you know for a fact, especially when there's dogs or other things in these videos, and you see stuff like this, you know that the dog's reaction. Now, I have, though, seen videos, to be fair, I've seen videos where dogs run, depending on the breed, you know. Well, we had two pits. We have one now. He's a bully pit. Brew, as many know, we had to put him down several months ago. But combined those two, they're not big dogs, right? But they're about 100 pounds. Well, Brew was about 98 to 100 pounds. Dozie's probably a little bit more because he's just a thick dog. He's got the neck the size of a tree trunk. But, you know, together, these two were just insane. But they were lovable dogs, right? Never hurt a fly. But when it comes to protecting their owners or the home or something, if something is threatening them or threatening us or something, they're just going balls to the wall and they're attacking. They're going to bite and kill you first and ask questions later, right? And that could be anything. It could be a bear, whatever it is, you know? So anybody that has a dog, even a little Chihuahua, those things are nasty. That little Chihuahua would have went after that thing. You know what I mean? So a lot of times when you're looking at these videos, you can kind of make and say, well, yeah, that's not real. And just enjoy it for the creativity. Cuddles, you're too old to run. You say, oh, shit. Dennis, you say that AI is going to create more chaos than good. You know, a lot of people say that, and I think at this point, right, it's really hard to tell. It truly is. If you remember, I mean, again, well, now, see, it's so hard for me to give an honest assessment of it then, because this is something that's different than, I think, what, you know, the introduction to a telephone or the internet or a computer. Matter of fact, similar to the internet, when that was coming out, being launched, there were many speculating that the internet was going to be our demise, how poisonous and dangerous it is, or at the time. And to their point, even now, right, it's how you use it, it's what you do with it. You know, the same people argue that with guns, you know, like a gun sitting on the table, it's not going to get up and shoot itself, right? You've got to pull the trigger. Or a car's not going to drive into somebody, run them over. You have to drive it. So the same thing applies with AI. But the other argument to that, though, is AI it's not a physical thing. It's inanimate. Inanimate? Whatever. It's a program, right? AI, like, it exists, but it doesn't. You know what I mean? So, obviously, when you create something, like we just watched, even then it's not real, right? It's still made up. It's creativity, right? But when you're talking into the world of technology, whether it's algorithms, jobs, or things of that nature, I can definitely see an argument there, and I can understand the fear of it. And I think a lot of that is, in my opinion, with AI. Again, I'm not an expert, not even close. I use AI a lot for different things, but I also think, like everything else, if used properly, that being the operative word, if, that it can be a great asset. You know, it can do a lot of amazing things to help people, but it can also do a lot of things to damage people. And it's kind of a crapshoot where, do you use it to help benefit you, or are you afraid to use it because you don't know what it can do? You know, kind of one of those things. So for me personally, I love using AI tools for certain things that I do. Again, I still don't understand the complexity of it. I think that in a lot of aspects, it could be very, very dangerous. AI, yeah, it is instant. See, Dennis said that the difference is that those things you talked about is only seen locally, but AI is instantly worldwide in seconds. Yeah, you're right. See, the hard not hard conversations, then, but I would say the struggle to, well, for me, is I'm a realist, and the old saying is, know what you don't know, right? And so I don't know enough about that field to even have a reasonable argument as to how bad it can be. The only thing or things that I do know and I do understand, well, one of them is common sense. Again, it's like anything else. If it's used incorrectly, it could be a bad thing, you know. I mean, a garden tool, if it's used wrong for bad intentions, you can hurt somebody, right? But if you use it for the reasons it's meant to be used for, then it's harmless. So I think anything that people do with intent, bad intent, can be catastrophic. And I think with AI, we've had AI around for years and years and years. The differences is now it's become a tabletop. It's become like a salt and pepper shaker, right? It's available for everybody. And before, you know, artificial intelligence was used decades and decades ago. It just wasn't used by civilians. You know what I mean? So now that it's consumable for general population, and the more people learn how to use it, the more manipulative it becomes. And that's the trick, is it is getting more and more difficult to kind of distinguish certain things. Matter of fact, there were several actors, I forget who they were, but they were suing, I think, I don't know if it was the entertainment company or directors, whatever it was, for using their likeness or their voice. But that was through use of AI. The one thing I've learned is this. Yeah, no, Jennifer, it does. So Jennifer says it messes with younger kids because they believe things they see, and this is why us as adults or parents need to teach them what's real or false. You're right. You know what? I agree with that 100%. I think a lot of times, Jennifer, in my opinion, is that, yes, I mean, my kids are grown up, but even now, you know, we still need to be very diligent with ourselves, number one. And number two, yeah, even with your adult kids too, you know, and if they have kids, the grandkids. But even for the younger ones, the younger parents, right? I believe that 100% the parents need to be parents and not their friend. And unfortunately, it's a battle because you have all of these temptations, all of these cool things, right? Whether it's at school, your friends, whatever, things being done because a parent can't be there all the time. And the sad part is that the technology, all the goodies, all the temptations, they're going to be there way before, in split seconds before the parent can, right? The kid's going to learn something 10 times faster or see something 10 times faster than what the parent can prevent. It's a fact, unless, you know, you homeschool or something. And that's the difficulty in it. But I think also, too, is that the real discipline and struggle comes in is that, you know, when the parent instructs, and listen, I'm no parent instructor or anything of that nature. I'm going from personal experiences, but I didn't have to deal with a lot of this stuff, you know, when my kids were growing up. But from personal experiences, you know, I was a very stern dad. I didn't give, I helped, you know, and I would show how to do things. And if you want something, this is how you do it. But AI, even something as simplistic as a fun video game or even on TV, right? There are things that are just very, very difficult for parents to constantly monitor. So I think that becomes the battle within itself. And there are ways, obviously, that you can fight against all of that stuff. But again, it's hard. It's like anything else, And unfortunately, Jen, and sadly, there are some people that would just rather have AI, video games, or TV entertainment babysit and raise their kids because it's easier. Look at about all of. There are actually studies, right? This is what weird. I mean, you guys got me on this tandem now with AI. They did this study about people, younger generation, even some mid-30s and 40s, I guess, who have relationships with like AI or say like a chat GBT, things of that nature, right? And they lack social skills. I talked about this in my last episode, where people they lack social skills. They don't have enough face-to-face confrontation, not in a bad confrontation, but socializing, interacting, going out in the real world. Matter of fact, I watched this, it's like this ad every once in a while I'll see on either Facebook or YouTube, and it's an 80s ad. It's made today, but it flashes back and says, hey, in the 80s, and it shows a bunch of teenagers with the spiked up hair riding their bikes. Excuse me. And they're all hanging out at the roller skating rink. Right? Or they're all hanging out at the mall or something like that, right? And said the 80s is calling you back. Or do you remember the 80s, right? I loved the 80s. Loved the 80s. And what's funny is, growing up, my brother and I, we would play out in the woods and build forts. And when the light came on, that was your cue to come in. Like, we would get yelled at for coming in if it was dark. We had to be in before it got dark. So when that light went on, your ass had to be in that house. Right? So now they don't even leave the house, so I guess you don't got to worry about that. The 80s was the best, huh, guys? In my opinion. I mean, I grew up in that era, but to me, 80s was the best. Leather jackets, high heel sneakers, jeans, t-shirts. My nickname was Fonzie. I had the leather jacket, white t-shirt, slick back hair, The 80s were cool, man. The 80s were like, in my opinion, one of the best generations ever. Early 90s were kind of cool too, right? But the 80s was where it's at, man. Hair bands, just hanging out, riding your bikes, break dancing, hanging out at the mall, walking around. And even when you did dumb things, right? It was dumb things. We didn't bring guns to school and stuff. Sometimes you had a kid that maybe brought a knife to school or something like that, right? But that was about as weird as things got, but we didn't have all that stuff. And again, it's hard to compete because we can't compare that generation to this generation. This generation, like Jennifer was saying, and that's really weird. That kind of falls in the line of tonight's category, weird things. Like, AI is weird. So when they're growing up, virtual reality, right? It's almost as if they're losing reality. They live in a world, they get lost in a world that's virtual. That becomes their normal. And when they're not in a virtual state of mind, they don't know how to cope with reality because they get lost in that fantasy world, right? There was a big thing about that, and it's very dangerous because number one, you can't handle life situations. You obviously don't really know how to socialize and do all the other things that life requires you to do, simplistic things. Yeah, absolutely, Den. Young people in your time either had a t-shirt and jeans or a suit with a tie. Girls wore nice dresses or mini skirts. Jen, you were born in 1977. You missed your generation, yeah? Den was born in 1949. Den was born when they created Earth. Den, I love you. But in all seriousness, those guys, imagine doing a show like this back then, right? Let's just pretend that they had internet and podcasting back then. But the difference was they didn't have all of this, the AI and stuff. And back then you actually had to look in a phone book, right? I should do a podcast like that one time. Pretend as if I'm back in the 80s doing a podcast and I got to research something via the phone book, or I have to read a exciting event by the newspaper, and then I take out my map explaining my next destination. I would be watched by the FCC back then. But imagine that, though, going back to the 80s, right? And saying, you know, and then trying to duplicate the 80s, but do a podcast. And duplicate, like, what it would be like to try to do a podcast. I don't even know how you'd be able to do that, right? Because you'd have to try to make it as real as possible, but it'd be difficult. But just the thought of it, though, right? When you did stuff back then, you know, they had payphones, and they actually had a phone book that was hooked up to it. And yeah, you would have to walk all the way home, or walk to your friend's house, or go to a store, beg to use a phone, to call your parents or your friend, you know. And we actually walked. We walked everywhere. You know, there was no such thing as getting a ride from your parents, unless you were sleeping over a friend's house or something like that. Other than that, man, we were walking. You know, like, we walked everywhere. Walked, rode our bikes, played outside, break out the encyclopedias. Richard, welcome. Richard, you missed some good stuff, bro. But that's okay. Glad you're here. Disco podcast, everything you would do, Dennis says, would have colorful dots springing around a white nudie suit. Nudie Judy. But yeah, the 80s were it, man. And for many, you know, it could have been the 50s or the 60s or the 70s, whatever. And I've even heard some say that we all think the generation before was the best or what have you. And that may be true to a certain extent. But I got to tell you this. There's nothing about, with the exception of like technology, fun things, and all that stuff, that I wouldn't trade, honestly, to take about a month and live back in, say, the 80s, early 90s. Like, I would just, for a month. Oh, you have, Richard? Nice. Thank you. I appreciate you listening, brother. Yeah, we were talking about your favorite thing, Richard. But I would love to go back for a month and really just live in the 80s for 1 month. I think that would be amazing. I would love to do that. Yeah, they did. Dennis and Jen carried... Oh, what? Jen and we carried them all with a backpack. I don't know what you're trying to say there, Dan. I think I do. Oh, backpacks. All right, I got you. It's hit me. Yeah, backpacks were a thing. Right? Backpacks were a thing to have. If you didn't have a backpack in school, you weren't cool. And then we should take, like, that's when we actually had books. And we could take, like, paper bags. You make book covers out of them. Right? People would... Yeah, people would take like cool, like whoever had the coolest book cover was the cool kid, you know what I mean? They would draw, and like the girls would have like all these little pink colored or different design book covers and stuff. And if your friend's parents had money, they had like the better looking backpacks, whatever was in style. Yeah, but you carried everything by hand. And you may have tried to dress the way you wanted, but I'll tell you what you didn't do. You never went to school wearing freaking pajamas, all right? And bunny suits and animal costumes and everything else. Like, maybe if you had a dress down Friday, we used to have like a laid back Friday or whatever it was. You know, certain months we had like a school spirit thing or something. I forget what it was. But we were allowed to dress in pajamas for that one particular Friday. But man, if you were caught going to school in pajamas, you'd get a detention. By the time you got home, get your ass beat if the teacher didn't smack you, right? But you could never go to school in pajamas. Trapper keepers. Yeah, Richard, that's right. The trapper keepers. Remember those freaking things, trapper keepers, man? There was like the binders were like that thick, and the cool kids had the cool trapper keepers. Right? Then they had these fancy little zip-up things where they could put all their fancy little freaking pens and fancy little pencils and everything inside there. And they were all organized, color coordinated and everything else. You know, and the poor kids growing up, we had broken pencils and hardened erasers and getting the used trapper keepers. Yeah, those were the good days, man. Trapper keepers, wow. And when you played sports back then in school, you know, football, we have football, we had soccer, we had kickball. Man, I used to love kickball. That was the best, guys. Kickball, a big red ball, dodgeball, right? Bunch of us would stand up against the wall and you get this red dodgeball. And whoever would start out, you draw out, whoever would start out, whatever. And man, they try to, and you could only go, right? The wall was only so long, you couldn't go to the edge of the wall or you're disqualified. And so whoever was whipping that ball, yeah, he'd try to hit you, man. And sometimes that thing would hit you right in the goggin. Out you go. With the last one standing, boom. He would get up and do the next time. Yeah, this. Yeah, you could, but even still, yeah, you could wear sweatpants. But depending on the schools, too. A lot of schools had dress codes, and a lot of parents had dress codes. A lot of the parents wouldn't let you just walk out of the house with your hoochie hanging out and everything else like that, right? No, that didn't work, you see. But the coolest thing, too, was... Yeah, we did that then. We used to go to this place called Cannon's Variety, you know. And matter of fact, outside of Cannon's, Mr. Cannon, he owned it. He was a cool guy. There was a lot of kids. They'd bring their boom box. Remember the boom box, guys? You carried it on your shoulder or hold it in your hand. It took like 24D batteries. And they'd be playing dance music and everybody... You'd have cardboard down on the ground. Everybody would be standing around, getting in there, doing break dancing and stuff. That was awesome. And whoever had the biggest, baddest boom box was like the king. Like the boom box was it. You guys remember that thing? That was awesome. But again, it took... The batteries weighed more than the freaking radio did. But it was so cool. Because you had this, and then everybody tried to outdo everybody else with the boombox, right? because your boombox had to be loud, had to have bass, it had to have all these little equalizers on it with lights, and it had to have a tape deck. Then the dual tape deck came out and all that stuff, and man, that was awesome. We should do, you know what? I'm going to do a podcast all about the 80s. I am. I'm going to do a 80s podcast all about the 80s, reflecting on the 80s, because it's a cool thing. So I've got to find some footage and a lot of stuff about the 80s. I think that's really, really cool. Let me see. Then you had tiny transistors in every gathered round to listen to AM only, no FM. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, but yeah, back in your days, yep, AM transistor radios. You know what? You can go on, they actually have apps then that do the same thing, right? Where you can actually listen to AM style type radio frequencies. Sometimes I like the static. I like to fall asleep to it. But yeah, that stuff was cool. Oh, I'll definitely give the 50s and 60s some airtime. Absolutely. I'm just saying I want to go and do a podcast, right? Maybe we can do it from like the 80s early on. So I can't span it out too far then, because you're talking 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s. That's like 40 years of material. But I will be fair and fit it in there, though. I mean, either way, I wasn't around in the 50s and 60s, obviously, but I do love the look, the sound, the music of the 50s and 60s, you know, and it just looked like a fun time to be around, right? You know what I mean? It did look like a cool time. And you know what was cool about the 50s and 60s, right? Is the cars, there are some pretty sharp looking cars now. I get that, you know, some cool designs. But let me tell you something. The cars back then, not only were they sexy, I mean, they had curves, right? Why do you think they referred to a lot of cars as she, right? And the trucks were referred to he, masculinity. The cars back then, right? Oh man, she can do a $120 or whatever. Well, it wasn't he could do a $120. She could. Or if you're referring to a muscle truck, it was, oh man, he can climb anything. Yeah. But the cars back then, they had curves, and they were like this candy colors, right? Like the blues, the reds, like the candy apple reds, and just the different colors they had. The paint jobs that they had on these cars back then were just amazing. They popped. They were brilliant. It looked like those you know, gumballs that you see in the gumball machines back then, right? That's kind of like the color of these cars, you know? It was really, really cool. The soda pop, as you said, the ice cream floats, everything back then, it just had like color to it, you know, like it just, everything came alive. It was pretty cool. Yeah, music back then was awesome. I think as far as music goes, I would have to give it to that generation. Well, those two, 50s and 60s. I would have to say, well, probably mid 70s too, if I'm going to be honest here. I would have to say that 50s, 60s, 70s were probably my favorite generations of music. I do love, though, 80s bands and stuff like that, absolutely. But overall, for me, 50s, 60s, and 70s, I just think there was something about the music back then. And even though a lot of it, when you listen to like the one-hit wonders or some of these groups or artists you've never heard of, And even some that you did, you kind of listen to the song, you're like, okay, that makes not a drop of sense. Some of the names they had for themselves back then were kind of weird too. But it meant something, right? You know, it meant something. And I just think, I don't know, there's something different about it, you know? And it's not to take away from artists today. That's not what I'm saying. But for me personally, I just liked the 50s, 60s, and some of the 70s stuff. I just think there was just something different about it. I think that when artists performed, there was this aspiration. There was like this meaning. The emotion behind it was different, you know? Now it's kind of like, ugh, it just all sounds the same. It's repetitive stuff. And then they try to redo stuff over, to change things, whatever. That's just my opinion. But I love that stuff. I absolutely agree with you guys. Yeah, we got to do that. I've got to do a podcast about that stuff. And again, guys, I'm learning here. This is relatively new for me, so to speak. But I love it. Listen, I got the fireplace. Wanda them suggested I have a fireplace behind me. I did that. Okay. Jude suggested a couple things. I did that. So, you know, it's a work in progress here. But I really wanted to do something fun, something different for the show tonight. And again, I could have kept going all night with the weird things, right? But I think, in my opinion, after a little bit, you know, either you do like one continuous weird thing and you focus on that thing, right? Because I think by doing all of these weird things in one show, it's a little bit tough, and a lot of people probably don't get interested. But then again, who knows? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to figure out the fact of how do I keep people interested in listening to me for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, right? How do you do that? And so that's a difficult thing for me. But at the same time, it's good because, honestly, if you've never sat there, and this is going to sound weird, right? But if you've never sat there and just talked out loud to yourself, okay, try it. And the reason I'm saying that to you is it's almost the same thing as doing what I'm doing. But the difference is that whether one person watches me or 1,000 people watch me, okay, that's the difference, is that there's a chance that somebody will watch. Now, whether they stay duration or they're interested or they don't like my voice or whatever it is, okay, there's that chance. But the application is still the same. You have to constantly keep yourself thinking, keep going, try to stay as engaged with whoever is watching as much as possible. And at the same time, you don't want to repeat too much, but you don't want to not do too much, right? And so it's weird. Like, I've watched some YouTube podcasters that absolutely sit there and they'll commentate on, say, whether they're watching like police videos or something, or they're watching people get arrested, and they'll commentate on how the arrest is going down, whether it's sovereign citizens or whatever stuff they're doing, and you sit there and watch them, and they're not really doing anything but commentating to what's already out there, right? So they're just kind of narrating to something that's already been narrated, but they're adding their 2 cents. And you know what's interesting about that is that there's nothing special about it except for the fact that they're giving their opinion on something that they found interesting. And so they're kind of commenting and saying, oh, you know, look at what this person's doing, or how they're getting arrested, or this, that, and the other. And I sit there and watch those. I find it intriguing. And they get millions or hundreds of thousands of views and subscribers. How, I don't know. Jen, if you get a response when you talk to yourself, like you said you do, or you get an answer, all right, then I want you to let me know how it made you feel so that next time I can know how to handle it. Because I answer myself all the time. I really do. I answer myself all the time. Then you're right. You're absolutely right. It's kind of like a live entertainment show on Friday night, right? Then it's like we do more than just feature songs. You know, it's deeper than that. It's more complex than that. And you're right. This podcast, yeah, the things we discuss, it will start out with one thing and it will stay consistent, okay, until that one thing kind of runs out, or you know, it does what it does. But then people bring up certain things, and then you just have an open dialogue. You have an open discussion, right? And that's the whole point behind me doing what I'm doing. Then is that it goes beyond opinions, like you said. We go deeper into things, and I think that is something that is missed. I think that is something that is lacking. You're absolutely right. Dennis, you're right. It is like sitting on the front porch talking to the neighbors down the row and across the street. It is. Right? You just have... The differences are is this. Is with the exception of us physically connecting, right? It's kind of like we're all hanging out, having conversation. So another subject comes up, somebody else says something that strikes your interest, you get involved with that conversation, and so on and so forth, and then you can talk for hours, right? And you have open dialogue, you have open discussions. You know, everybody, you may not agree with everybody's opinion, you may have different viewpoints, right? But you're able to just get what's off your chest, get it out of your head, release toxicity, kind of get the endorphins flowing again, get that creativity going, keep the mind thinking, right? And it's really, really, really super helpful for you. People don't realize it, but when you talk, and especially when you're venting, it's super healthy for you. Because you're releasing anxiety, you're releasing stress. Did you ever notice that if you have a good conversation with somebody, not an argument, but a conversation with somebody, and even though you may not agree on all the subjects, right? When you have a good conversation with somebody, you feel so much better. You almost feel as if like you just kind of, you know, took a nice long nap, where you had a great meal, right? And you feel satisfied. You feel sort of fulfilled within that moment after that nice conversation. Yeah, common sense conversations then, I agree. It is called socializing. It's kind of a thing that's lacking these days. Richard says he is an 80s fan, Den, but he had to check in at work, he said, Dennis. But Richard is indeed an 80s kid. I knew Richard was, Dennis. I could just tell by his likes. I could tell by Richard's interest he was an 80s guy. 100%. And that's okay. But yeah, I agree 100%, man, that you know what? It's like you're hanging out on your porch. You can't physically be there, but you can verbally be there, right? And if you want to, you can even visualize yourself hanging out with the person whoever you're talking to. And see, that's the good thing, then about the technology and stuff that I was referring to earlier is that it has its dangers, but it also has its good things too. This being one of them. Again, done correctly, done properly, and done with good intent, it's so beneficial, right? But like everything else, malicious, no, it's going to end up in just, chaos. And that's what I love about doing the talk show, doing the talk podcast, is it allows, especially for me, it's more therapeutic, I think, than I'm realizing. I've got to be honest with you. When I start out, it's kind of, a little nervous because I don't know sometimes, am I going to say all the right things? Am I going to do a good introduction? Is it going to be meaningful? Are people going to walk away feeling better? You think of all these things as a host, as a content creator. I go through it every Friday night. Richard said he just got to work and had to talk to his co-worker. Oh, I thought you said for a shit change. I was like, Richard, nice, dude. Jennifer, you are right. Communication is the key. Absolutely. Dennis says he never met Jen or Richard or even myself, but we all connected in a common sense family, and we even have a name, the Coolers. Yeah. Dennis coined the name the Coolers for all of the DCG members. Very fitting. Yep. And you're absolutely right. We do. There's there's a difference. I say it all the time. I even said it last time. It's the character of people. It's the like-minded people, right? It's kind of like money begets money or whatever it is, but kind begets kind, right? Stupid begets stupid. When you have like-minded people, especially kind-hearted people, people who genuinely just simply want to share, they want to be kind, whether that's help others or, just to even have a relationship, a friendship, right? Well, they just simply, they just want to be part of something. That's okay, right? But what they don't want to be is alienated. They don't want to be put down. They don't want to be made fun of. They don't want to be diminished. And unfortunately, a lot of the crap out there does exactly that. So if we can create an environment where slowly people can come on board and say, hey, you know what? This is kind of cool. I can go on this show and talk. Nobody's going to judge me. Nobody's going to criticize me, for my opinions or what I say or anything else like that. This is pretty cool, right? And you find that there's more people out there like that than you really think. There truly is. You'd like to make a jacket then in the 50s with the logo small on the front. I do. Matter of fact, if you go to our shop, our online shop, I've designed those. We have those there. We have some jackets. We have hoodies. Then we've got hats. Leather jacket. Yeah, leather jackets. I don't think they sell that. What I'm doing is I actually have to go through the online shop, believe it or not. And unfortunately, I've got to take about 300 items down. The T-Birds leather jacket. Wouldn't that be cool if we can all get leather jackets? Yeah, with a patch members logo on it. And then we all meet up somewhere on like these Harley Davidsons or something like that. Or in our cases, many minivans. Or the pink ladies. Yeah. like the T-Birds from Grease and the Pink Ladies. See, that was a badass movie, even to this day. And I'm not a huge, I mean, I like John Travolta. I think the guy's an incredible actor. I really, really do. But as far as like movies go, I'm not a huge Grease fan. But it was, for its principle, for the values, for how it was made, it was just a badass movie. That and The Outsiders. We had to watch that in school. When I first watched that in school, I thought, like, well, my teacher back then, I had a crush on her. And I actually got in trouble because I told her that. Yeah, I had a major crush on her. But anyways, we watched that. And that movie, to this day, is like one of my favorite movies. That movie is just amazing. Yeah, no, so I've got to remove a ton of products because the online store, so what I did was I went ahead and I designed like over 300 logos, designs, and stuff, and it's on a bunch of merchandise. The problem is that if you don't move enough product, right, you don't sell enough product, you get charged, because what they do is they'll take, so whatever is sold for merchandise, right, they will take a percentage of that sale, and then it equals out to whatever your monthly billing would be to keep your store open. See, I do all the designing, but then I put it onto the merchandise. That company then, if somebody orders something like what Richard did or Matt did, several others did, is then they'll take that and they'll do the digital printing onto the product, right? Or the sublimation print. Now, I have all the equipment. John has all the equipment. We can do it, but it's too costly at the end of the day and too time-consuming for us. So this particular company works out great. But the problem is you've got to move a certain amount of products each month in order to maintain that profit margin. And if you're not, well, then it's going to end up costing you. So what I'm going to do is minimize it to 50 products and make it all nothing but just merch products, like DCG stuff. Because the other products, they're great, but the problem is if they're not selling, they're not moving, what's the point of even having it, That's why. Stay Golden, West Side Story. Yep. Those were great movies. All the Clint Eastwood movies, stuff like that. It was movies with what was so great about it for me is that, and I think you guys will agree, the special effects it was like the fighting, right? That's where the special effects came in, or, animation, whatever you want to call it, right? Like, those were the blood and stuff, the makeup, that was special effects. So something blew up, like the Dukes of Hazzard, right? They jump over buildings, cars, bridges, and something to blow up. Those were special effects. Even Godzilla. I grew up on Creature Double Feature Godzilla. Huge to this day Godzilla fan. Die-hard Godzilla fan, all right? But I grew up on that stuff. And as a kid watching Creature Double Feature, we thought these things were real, man. That's how good they were back then, right? When you watch those old movies now, it's almost hard to sit there and think, I actually thought those things were real. And it used to scare me, some of the monsters, right? But at the end of the day, you appreciate the realism of it, and you look back at some of these older movies, the acting, everything, it was just, it meant something to them back then, right? They did it for the love of acting. Obviously they wanted to aspire to be famous actors. I get all that, but the acting was much, much different. There was more feeling, emotion, drama, and you had to work that much harder, like, to be an actor. You had your tough guys, right? You had your women, you had, your nerds, your geeks, your jocks, your whatever movie it was, right? But 9 out of 10, you know, it was nothing that was made up. It was like a lot of the movies back then were like real life movies. You could relate to the movies, you know what I'm saying? Until they started coming out with more sci-fi stuff like Star Wars. But even that stuff was cool though. Right? Even that stuff was cool. You know? And don't get me wrong, I love a lot of the new movies they have, like the Avengers and stuff. Like, I love that stuff. I think it's really, really cool. But, hands down, give me a good movie, an old movie any day. I'll kick back, I'll relax, and I'll watch that movie. 100%. I love that stuff. Yeah, you're right. You had to imagine, Dennis. You're right. You had to imagine many of the parts of the movie in your mind. It's like you had to kind of use your imagination along with the movie. The body. You know what? Then you say the body snatchers held you up for a week. You know what movie, and even to this day, okay, that I will never watch. If I see an ad for it, I will turn away from it. Okay? When my brother and I were little, my sister woke us up. I was probably about 10, I think. Right? I was 10 years old. Okay? My sister wakes my brother and I up. And she wants us to watch this new movie that was just out on TV. We're like, oh, Jan, I don't watch this movie. Well, she wakes us up. So we grab our pillows, the blankets. She's like, come on, boys, grab your pillow. You're going to lay down in the living room with us. Okay. Lay down. You know what it was? It was Exorcist. I watched that movie with my eyes closed after I seen the face. That one movie I could never, and to this day, will never watch again. I had freaking nightmares of that movie for months. And I'm talking months. I had nightmares of that movie. I will, and you know, I ask her to this day, why in the world did you traumatize me like that? That movie, because it was based on actual events. I mean, back then I didn't know it. But, man, I'll tell you, that's one movie I will never, ever watch again. No way. Yeah, Jen, I know you are afraid of clowns. See, it doesn't bother me, clowns, because it's, I don't know, it's not, I don't know, to me, like a clown is a clown, you know, but that's me. And there's some people that can watch, like the movie I just said, Exorcist or something like that, it doesn't bother them, like, yeah, whatever. But I think because it traumatized me when I was a kid. Yeah, Night of the Living Dead. I don't think I ever watched it then. I may have. I don't know. But either way, movies like that, especially when you're younger, they scare the snot right out of you. You slept with the lights on, Dennis, after seeing The Exorcist? Yeah. Okay. Well, see? Now you see? That's what I'm saying. The eyes, like, oh man, I gotta stop talking about it because now it's in my head. And when I tell you I had nightmares for months, woke up screaming, I would see visually this thing. Yeah, it was bad. It was real bad. You know, and it punched the guy that made that movie. Idiot. No sense in it whatsoever. That's just my opinion, but no, that was pretty bad movie, man. It really, really was. That was horrible. And then one of my favorites, though, was E.T. E.T. had to be one of my favorite movies. I think E.T. was just, like, one of the greatest movies of all time. You know, to me, that was just, like, don't try to repeat it. Don't come out with an E.T. 2. Don't leave it alone. Let E.T. go home. The dude phoned home. Let him make his call. He's going home. He's home. Let him stay home. To me, E.T. was awesome. That was like one of the best movies. You know, I loved that movie. It was just, for its time, it was awesome. You know, it was a good, feel-good movie. You know, a little bit part of it was sad, but overall, the ending and stuff, it brought you right back up. Yeah, The Nun, Jennifer, The Nun was scary. Damien, all those movies. Yeah. Doesn't make a drop of sense at all. To me, I don't know. I don't do well with those movies. I don't see the point in them. But for some people, you know, they love it. I don't know. I can't tell you. But, guys, I got a few minutes left, but I just wanted to remind everybody. Remember, if you're not a email member yet, let me put it in here, because I don't have my typical crew. Oops. Look at this. I screw up already. I got to physically do this stuff now. Oh, where's my staff? There it is. If you're not an email member, you can become an email member by simply saying, sign me up. Okay, member, sign me up. Send an email to that address, especially for the Friday night shows where we have live entertainment, featured artists, and members from around the world. All right, we do. We literally do. And that is every Friday night live on DCG Entertainment. We also now have live video Zoom chats where people can go in, they can join the live video during the show. Then we pan in and out. We go to the live Zoom so everybody there can also chat and talk to each other and stuff. It's great, great, great fun. And that's every Friday night at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Matter of fact, this Friday we have a band versus band. We have the Beatles versus the Bee Gees. All right, so a lot of artists, a lot of great members. Matter of fact, if you haven't submitted your song, for all the members out there, Dan, Richard, I haven't checked the email. John handles that. But if you guys have not submitted your songs for this Friday, please do so before Thursday. That would be tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. From what I understand, the lineup's filling up really, really quick. So this ought to be fun. Again, that's Beatles versus the Bee Gees, where members will perform, record their favorite song from either band. Oh, you guys both submitted yours? Awesome. Jen, I know you're not a member of the singing part group of it, so you don't have to respond to that, but both of these gentlemen are. So looking forward to that, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is the first time we've done a band v band, especially the Bee Gees and the Beatles. Kind of a mixed diverse right there. All right, so that's going to be really, really, really cool. But anyways, guys, with that being said, you know what time it is? It is coffee time for me. And again, the next live talk podcast is Saturday evening. All right, I will be sure to put out the emails for that. Now I got to think on if it's going to be a flashback, like a Back to the Future podcast type of talk. I got to figure out the content for it. I'm not too sure yet, but we shall see what happens. But anyways, Guys, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for watching, chatting, and especially for all of the awesome comments. I do appreciate it. But for now, until I see everybody Friday evening at DCG Entertainment for the live music entertainment, guys, be safe. And yeah, of course, as always, try to be kind to everybody. Jen, so nice to see you again. Dennis and Richard, you guys all have a great night. All right, see you all on the flip side Friday evening.